What's up, everybody? Francesca here from the Florida Living channel. Today, we're going to talk about reasons why people are leaving Venice, Florida. I've been talking to my local friends a lot lately on the baseball and softball fields, and they've been telling me a lot of these reasons why people are leaving. So I decided to put this together for you so that you would know the honest truth about living in Venice, Florida. It's been known that 1,500 people move to Florida a day, but how many people are really flocking to Venice? And, can you actually handle it? I'm going to cover 8 reasons why people are leaving Venice. And if you can't handle the first couple of reasons, the last couple of reasons are going to have you running for the hills. So today we're going to talk about this and you're going to see if you can handle living in Venice, Florida. All right. Starting with number 1, we're going to talk about traffic and the development that's going on here in Venice, Florida. So if you've been thinking about moving to Venice, Florida, and you're doing your research, you've probably heard about Welland Park. So I decided to go ahead and look up, how many residents there are in Venice, Florida versus how many residents there will be when Welland Park is said and done, how many are here now. So based on 2010, the census says that there was 20,748,000 people living in Venice. Then in 2023, there was 27,272 people living in Venice. Not too bad, right? Well, the funny thing about that is Welland Park, which is already well on its way under construction, several people are already living in their homes, is said to have about 22,000 homes, but it's also said to have around 60,000 residents. So, I'm looking around as I'm driving here and I'm thinking, how can we handle 60,000 residents that are going to be living in Welland Park? But the thing that is a little bit deceiving about these numbers is that we have a lot of snowbirds here. So as I'm actually doing this video, it's the beginning of snowbird season. It's in October. Snowbird season really doesn't get into full effect. They say in like November. Some people say in January, but we're seeing people come a little bit earlier, stay a little bit longer, fall in love with Venice, and end up eventually moving here. But for now, I think the 27,000 people that are living here, I think that's a little deceiving. With Welland Park being built, that's going to add to that number. And then also with the snowbirds. So when the snowbirds come in, that definitely brings that 27,000 number up. The locals are talking about the traffic here. They don't like it. I'm from Orlando. I'm a Florida girl. I've been in Florida my whole entire life, born and raised. And the traffic here is absolutely laughable compared to what I went through in Orlando, which is why I left. So, while the locals are a little bit irritated about it and they have some heartburn, I'm just over here chuckling because I still go back to Orlando quite a few times a month. And I still have family there. We still have a house there, so on and so forth. And the traffic is terrible. So coming to Venice is such a refreshing treat for me and my family. The lack of crowds is amazing. But if you're a local, you're not liking it. All right. The number 2 thing we're going to talk about is the construction that's going on. But you know what? I have somebody better to do this one than me.
All right, so a lot of people are moving out of Venice because they don't like the expansion that's going on out here. As you can see behind me, we're expanding our infrastructure here in Venice tremendously. Right now I'm on River Road, which is 77. And, it's a big problem out here for a lot of people that have lived in Venice for years. They've lived here and, it's been a quiet town. But the thing is, what's driving a lot of people crazy out here is that there's so much construction traffic going on. You got dump trucks, you got all kinds of, box trucks, everything moving around here, especially these dump trucks. They're carrying rock, they're carrying sand, they're carrying, all kinds of road materials, if you will, to build the roads, to, expand everything out here in Venice so that, we can keep up with the new construction and keep the traffic flowing. Now, look, for me, it's a problem for me too, but, I deal with it. So I'll give you an example. You're flying down the street, you got a dump truck in front of you, he's got a bunch of rock, sand, whatever it may be. That sand, the rocks coming off the truck, it's hitting your vehicle. So there's a lot of people here in Venice area that have, luxury vehicles, high-end sports car. Maybe they have, there is a lot of antique cars here too as well. So people are getting annoyed with the fact that, all of this debris that's coming out of these trucks is hitting their car and damaging their vehicles. It happens to me too, but I do have a solution for it. So, if you talk to a wrap company or a coating company, you can put a wrap on your vehicle, especially the front end for the hood, the front bumper, and, the quarter panels and such in the front. And it's just a plastic coating that goes on. You can't even see it. And that prevents the rocks and debris from actually hurting your vehicle and chipping the paint off. So there's another reason people are moving out of here.
All right, the next thing we're going to talk about, number 3 on my list today, is the heat. This past summer, we had amazingly high temperatures. It was just unusually high for the whole entire United States, I hear. So, it was up above 100 degrees. It was really hot. The humidity here is just a killer. You walk outside and it's like having a hot hairdryer blowing on you. I've said this before, but, we had this big hurricane or not a hurricane, it was actually a tropical storm that came by, and it really didn't hit the state of Florida, but it just was kind of in the Gulf. And then it went across like the panhandle. I don't even know if it had a name, but it was coming across and it brought like cooler air. But then behind it was all of this hot air. Like I walked out of the gym one morning, literally there was just this breeze of hot air. So I've been talking to a lot of my local friends that have grown up here their whole entire life, and basically they're tired of not having any seasons. They've lived in Florida their whole entire life, grew up in a small town of Venice. So I asked my friend at the baseball field, I said, oh, well, where does somebody go when they're moving and they've grown up in Venice their whole entire life? Because in my head, I'm thinking, what in the world is comparable to this place? And she said Wyoming. So really threw me for a loop. I've never thought about moving to Wyoming. I'm a water person. It just makes me feel good to know that the water is right there. I love looking at the water. I love watching our sunsets. So I don't know, maybe if Venice isn't for you, you should look into Wyoming. All right, number 4 on my list is going to be affordability, because I'm constantly hearing people say that they're moving out of Venice because it's just not affordable anymore. So let's really break this down and see what affordability means, because let's be honest, the whole entire United States has had inflation hit them in the last couple of years. Our groceries have gone up, gas has gone up. So we're really looking at affordability issues everywhere. So I really have to take some of these things with a little bit of a grain of salt. When Richard and I moved here over a year ago now, we were a little bit shocked at some of the things that were more affordable here than they were in Orlando. One of them was our car insurance. So we both drive, big trucks, heavy vehicles, over 600,000 pounds, I believe it is. So our car insurance actually went down $100 a month when we moved to Venice, Florida. So I'm sure a lot of that is population and it being less crowded, but recently our car insurance did go up. So it went from $230 to $260 a month. So it did go up recently. So some things are moving up a little bit, but you have to put some of these things into perspective. You can't just listen to what people say when they talk about affordability and things, because if you're moving here and you're coming from places like New York or California, or just some of these other states that are just known for being a little bit expensive, when you're moving to Venice, Florida, you're definitely going to be saving money. So you're not going to be paying that state income tax. Yes, you are going to pay taxes on some other things. One of my sales reps was just telling our clients the other day, he was like, yeah, you're going to pay taxes when you close on your home. There's no state income tax, so we got to get you somewhere. So, Florida does have some taxes that are hidden here and there that you don't find out about until you are maybe purchasing a home. But it's still a lot more affordable than most of the places that people are coming from. Now, another thing that's making it a little bit less affordable, so some of these people that I talk to, they've owned their homes for several years in Venice, Florida. So, they are seeing that, yes, their homeowners insurance is going up, but they're also seeing that, if you're living in an HOA community, after Ian, unfortunately, most of those communities are having to raise their dues, or they're doing assessments so that they can clean up the damage and get the neighborhood back up and running and looking the way it's supposed to look. So a lot of people are looking at higher HOA dues, assessments, and things like that. So, a lot of people that live in Venice, Florida are retired and they are on a little bit of a budget. Unfortunately, some of these things going up along with the groceries and the gas and things is making it harder for them to get by. So I totally get that, but I still think the affordability issue really could be debated based on living in other places. I'm not sure where else I would want to live that would be more affordable than living in Venice, Florida. All right, number 5 on my list is going to be homeowners insurance, speaking of which. So obviously the state of Florida is known for having a hard time with homeowners insurance lately. You've been hearing it in the news, reading it in the headlines, but is that really what's going on? I think some people are having a problem with homeowners insurance. I'm hearing homeowners tell me all the time that their homeowners insurance keeps going up, that it's doubling, so on and so forth. But here's a little story that I wanted to tell you. I recently listed a house for my client that, needed a new roof. The home was around 2,400 square feet. It was built in 2002. The roof was original. The AC was original. The plumbing had been redone. The water heater was newer. So some of the main components of the home were original. So I did consult with my client, like Richard and I like to do when we're listing a property for our client, and, sit down with them and discuss the fact that a client needs, a buyer needs to get homeowners insurance. And it might be a little bit tough with the roof needing to be replaced and the HVAC. So my client actually had a quote for the roof and was planning on getting the roof replaced, but she didn't really want to do it before she sold the house because she was in a hurry and had some personal things going on. So long story short, the buyer's agent reached out to me and wanted to know if I had a homeowners insurance company. They were looking for help. So I did give them our homeowners insurance company. I don't know what companies some of these people are using, but our homeowners insurance company that we refer our clients to was able to quote these buyers a homeowners insurance policy for around $4,000 a year. So the home inspector did give the roof 3 years of life left. And so based on that, they were able to get homeowners insurance for around $4,000 a year, give or take. So not really that bad when you have a roof that needs to be replaced. So I guess my advice here is when you're moving here and you are looking at homeowners insurance, make sure you get quite a few quotes. And don't just listen to the rumors and what people are saying and talking about, because we use a home insurance broker, and the broker is able to get quotes from multiple different companies at one time for you and then present you with kind of the best offers. So make sure you get a good referral for a company, get a quote, and definitely compare quotes when you're thinking about purchasing a home here. Now, obviously, another thing that will help is purchasing a home in flood zone X. So Richard and I always try to make sure that we get our clients in a flood zone X, because then you don't have to worry about flood insurance for that property. So obviously, if you want to add flood insurance just for your benefit, that's fine. But if you're looking to be really cost effective, then flood zone X is really the way to go. All right, number 6 on my list is allergies. If you have a lot of allergies and you're moving here, you may be surprised at what is in the air here. I have found I have allergies, and ever since we moved here, I thought I would actually do better down here being closer to the water, but I am allergic to dust and mold. So because of being allergic to mold, basically we get a lot of rainfall, it's hot outside, and then it creates a lot of mold in the air outside. Everybody's so scared of hearing that 4-letter word, mold. But it's not the really bad mold that can be really harmful to your health, but there's a lot of natural mold in the air outside. So I personally have a little bit of a hard time here when the seasons change. I'm having a hard time right now. But also the other thing that I am noticing is there's a lot of moisture in the air here. So we have the ocean and we have Mayaca River. So we're kind of in between two large bodies of water, and there's just a lot of moisture in the air here. So when you're moving here, don't be surprised if you end up having to put this in every room. This is damp rid, and we have literally put it in every room of our house now. When we first got here, we put one in the corner of our office and totally forgot about it. And then a couple of months later, I went to check on it and see where we were at, and the whole thing was so full, I could not believe it. I really thought, I thought it was kind of a scam, but everybody that lives here was telling us to get these and to put them in all of our rooms. So we did, and we saw all the water that it filled up with. So that's when I knew that, yeah, there's a lot of moisture in the air here. So definitely plan on buying some damp rid when you move here and keeping it in every room. But the other thing that we did, I'm gonna have Richard show you.
All right, so with Francesca's allergy issues, we moved out of Sarasota County. We thought everything was gonna get much better with her allergies. They didn't, so I was looking for solutions. I just so happened to be talking to my AC guy when he came out to do some maintenance one day, and we were talking about, what can we do to make the air cleaner. So there's various things you can do with your HVAC system, which this right here is your HVAC. Most homes here in Sarasota County and Florida really are going to have an HVAC system. It's your heating and cooling all-in-one. So basically how this works is the air comes in under this unit and the air passes through this unit, cooling it or heating it, and then shoots it up into the ductwork that goes throughout the house. So we were looking at options on how can we reduce dust in our house, those types of situations. So there's all kinds of different AC filters you can buy for that to reduce the dust. But there is one main factor that works really good, and that is right here, the Pure Air UV. So this is a UV light right here. And so they're really easy to install. I talked to my AC guy about it. He kind of gave me the lowdown on how to install it. And then of course you can go to YouTube University and you can find out several different ways to install these different Pure Air UV lights. But I will tell you that this light has changed our life in all of our houses. So if you got 1 unit or 2 units, it doesn't matter. You get one of these lights installed. This one's installed to the top of this unit because again, the air comes through. It passes past the UV light, and when the air goes through the UV light, if there's any dust in it, the UV light will just basically burn up all the dust as it comes through, and those particles will come out. They'll come out through your system. So when you first install it, you'll notice like throughout your house, on your countertops, tables, you'll notice a different kind of dust. It's kind of really fine dust. And that is dust particles getting burned up. It takes about a week or so to basically clear out the house of those main particles. But once the UV light is running for a while, I'll tell you what, the air in your house changes and it helps your allergies and probably a ton of other conditions if you look it up. But anyway, very easy to install. It took me about 10 minutes to install this one. I just cut a hole in here. You basically just put the UV light. There's a UV light bulb about this long. And that goes into the ductwork right there. Basically, then you have your ground and your hot wire that you just wire in right in here inside and get it. Real simple to do, game changer for your life. Some people put 2 to 3 of these in their homes. Depends how many units you have and what type of unit you have, but they work.
All right, number 7 on my list is gonna be the bugs here. The bugs here are absolutely insane. I just feel like they're a little bit bigger and more out there than they were in Orlando. I'm used to dealing with Florida bugs. Like every now and then you're gonna see one of those palmetto bugs or roach. But the things that I've seen down here just seem bigger and like, wow, I've seen some of the biggest grasshoppers I've ever seen in my whole life here, which is fine with me because they just eat the bad bugs. They don't bother me. But the mosquitoes, I think really the mosquitoes are really bad. Sarasota County actually does a lot of spraying for mosquitoes to help out. So I think that's great. But I think overall, if you look at Venice on a map, and you look at the Google like satellite view, you'll see all of the conservation and the swampland and stuff around Venice. And so that really is where you'll get the answer. And that's why it makes sense that there's just a lot more mosquitoes. There's a lot of low-laying water in the conservation area. I know around my house, Richard and I go for walks every night. I have to get like 9,000, 12,000 steps in a day just to be healthy and to stay active. So that's like my goal every day. But we go walking around our community and we go walking down Center Road, and there's so much conservation and we can just see the water, laying there in the bottom since we had a summer with not a lot of rain this year. But then after that was over, we just got a lot of rain after, I guess, Idalia. When Idalia came through, that was when we started getting more rain. So ever since then, we have been hit with some rain, and it just seems like the water is really sitting around. And so there is a lot of mosquitoes, and we've been just bombarded by bugs while we were waiting for our kids to finish practicing softball or baseball. Sitting there with all the other parents. One time we were at my daughter's softball game. We were sitting in our, we're sitting there in our chairs, and there was a light behind us, a big light pole. And we would look up and see so many bugs underneath the light, but eventually they just started swarming around us. My daughter was laughing at me because I jumped up out of my chair and was just freaking out and had to relocate and sit somewhere else away from the light. But yeah, there's just a lot of bugs here. So if you are somebody who gets attacked by mosquitoes like I do, definitely carry your Skin So Soft with you because it's going to be much needed here. All right, and number 8 on my list is just that the locals are moving out of here. They are moving out for several of these reasons, like I mentioned. The construction, the traffic, they're just seeing a lot of changes in the Venice area, and people just don't like it. A lot of people that grow up in one place their whole entire life just like the place to kind of stay the same. And unfortunately, that's just not happening. Venice was a little bit of a hidden secret. It's known for being a town with a lot of charm. And this secret is out. People are moving here, especially because of Welland Park. It's drawing in a lot of people and getting a lot of attention. So a lot of the locals are just moving because of the expansion that's going on in Venice. Now, if you're somebody that can handle some of these things, then Venice is going to be great for you. And Venice is going to welcome you with open arms because the community itself is so great. It's just a bunch of really, really nice people who are friendly and just easy to talk to and make friends here. So you're going to love it if you can handle some of these things. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.